I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left its senses. The political movement that once stood athwart history, resisting bloated government and military adventurism, has been reduced to an amalgam of fucking talk radio resentments. President Donald Trump's Republicans have devolved into a party without a cause, dominated by a leader hopelessly ill-informed about the basics of conservatism, U.S. history, or the fucking Constitution itself. America's first Republican president reportedly said, "Nearly all man can stand adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him power." Well, the current Republican president and the party he controls were granted monopoly power over Washington in November and already find themselves spectacularly failing Abraham Lincoln's character exam. It would take far more than a single column to detail Trump's failures in the months following his bleak inaugural address. But the Republican leaders, who have subjugated themselves to the White House's corrupting influence, fell short of Lincoln's standard long before their favorite reality TV show star brought his gaudy circus act to Washington. When I left Congress in 2001, I praised my party's successful efforts to balance the budget for the first time in a generation and keep many of the promises that led to our takeover in 1994. I concluded my last speech on the House floor by foolishly predicting that Republicans would balance budgets and champion a restrained foreign policy for as long as they held power. I would be proved wrong almost fucking immediately. As the new century began, Republicans gained control of the federal government. George W. Bush and the GOP Congress responded by turning a $155 billion surplus into a $1 trillion deficit and doubling the national debt, passing a $7 trillion unfunded entitlement program, and promoting a foreign policy so utopian it would have made Woodrow fucking Wilson blush. Voters made Nancy Pelosi Speaker of the House in 2006 and Barack Obama President in 2008. Y'all remember that, right? After their well-deserved drubbing, Republicans swore that if voters ever entrusted them with running Washington again, they would prove themselves worthy. Trump's party was given a second chance this year, but it has spent almost every day since then making the majority of Americans regret it. The GOP president questioned America's constitutional system of checks and balances. Republican leaders said nothing. He echoed Stalin and Mao by calling the free press the enemy of the people. Republican leaders went silent. As the commander-in-chief insulted allies while embracing autocratic thugs, Republicans who spent a decade supporting wars of choice remained quiet. Meanwhile, their budget-busting proposals to demonstrate a fiscal recklessness very much in line with the Bush years. Last week's Russia revelations showed just how shamelessly Republican lawmakers will stand by a longtime Democrat who switched parties after the promotion of a racist theory about Barack Obama gave him standing in Lincoln's once proud party. Neither Lincoln, William Buckley, nor Ronald Reagan would recognize this movement. And if y'all don't know who William Buckley is, please look him up. Okay? The godfather of modern day Republicans. It's a dying party that I can no longer defend. Pulitzer Prize winning historian John Meacham, has long predicted that the 150-year duopoly of the Republicans and Democrats will end. The signs seem obvious enough. When my Republican Party took control of Congress in 1994, It was the first time the GOP had won the House in a generation. And the two parties have been in a state of turmoil ever since. In 2004, Republican strategist Karl Rove anticipated a majority that would last a generation. 2 years later, Pelosi became the most liberal House Speaker in history. Obama was swept. Oh, sorry, lost my place. People keep driving in front of me. Obama was swept into power by supposedly unassailable Democratic coalition. In 2010, the Tea Party tide rolled in. Obama's re-election returned the momentum to the Democrats, but Republicans won a historic state-level landslide in 2014. Then last fall, Trump demolished both the Republican and Democratic establishments. Political historians will one day view Trump as a historical anomaly. But the wreckage of this man will break the Republican Party into pieces and lead to the election of independent thinkers no longer tethered to the tired dogmas of the polarized past. When that day mercifully arrives, the two-party duopoly that has strangled American politics for almost 2 centuries will finally come to an end. And maybe, just maybe, Washington will start working again. Now that, again, we talked about it on yesterday's Daily, was Joe Scarborough, a former Republican congressman from Florida, who now hosts the MSNBC show, Morning Joe. I think he was in the news. Well, he is the news, but he was the news in the news. Yeah, because he was the one getting attacked by fucking Trump, right? And for good reason. You know, it's funny, man. When we were still in the primaries for this last presidential election, back in 2016, remember the good old days back in 2016? Fuck. Everybody I talked to, you know, including myself, was like, hey, all right, you know, we got a couple good candidates. We got Rubio. We got Kasich, you know, even some people that like to cruise, whatever. And as much shit as I talk about Ted Cruz, he probably, I don't know, he may have actually been more fundamentally dangerous to some of the Democratic principles that I subscribe to, but even he would have been probably preferable to Trump. And everybody said that. Nobody I knew that was a serious conservative with real Christian values or a thought process of that nature was even half-heartedly considering Trump. Nobody. This guy is not us, man. Okay? He's not the conservative party. He is not a Republican. He's not one of us. Most of those fuckers aren't. But, you know, a lot of them are. But this guy, man. And he's doing some stuff that's fine. You know, he's doing some stuff that I agree with. Or at least his military commanders are doing some stuff I agree with. His staffers are doing some stuff I agree with. You know? I don't necessarily have too much trouble thinking about, you know, renegotiating NAFTA and stuff like that. That's fine. You know, why not take another look at our trade deals? But there's some weird stuff he does, like the climate accord with Paris. Look, if maybe you don't think that we are causing global warming. Maybe you don't think that. And that's fine. You know what I mean? I'm not here to convince anybody or change any minds. You know what I mean? But Well, I mean, I hope to, but I doubt that I will. It's hard to change minds, you know? I mean, I could talk about a bunch of stuff about global warming, you know, and whether or not it's man-made, you know. We should be doing something, regardless of whether it's man-made or not, because it's definitely fucking happening, you know. We can talk about polar shifts. We could talk about the guy that spent 20 years trying to get lead out of the fucking atmosphere, and succeeded, by the way. Look that guy up. Bet you don't know his name. That's besides the point. The Paris Agreement, for an example, wasn't a binding contract. You know what I mean? It wasn't really hurting us too bad to be involved with most of it. There was nothing going to happen if we didn't meet any of the agreement standards. So, just to continue with, you know, diplomacy and having good relations with our fellow democratic countries around the world, why not just stay in it? We didn't have to say, oh, we're pulling out. That wasn't necessary. We could have just not done any of the shit and not said anything about it. So, why not just go that way? But some of the good stuff, and we've talked about this before, if it wasn't a conspiracy, I like the airstrike against Assad. And guess what? That fucker hasn't done any more chemical weapons bullshit. So we needed somebody willing to strike, and Mr. Obama had more than enough chances and reasons to target that fucking asshole, and didn't. You know? So there's some good stuff in there. But there's some bad stuff too, man. And you want to go back to the entire Republican Party? Why are we, you know, why are the Republicans so anxious to protect the 1%? I know I harp on that a lot, but it is the truth. That's all they do. Like this latest healthcare bill that they wanted to pass, that didn't get passed, fucking thankfully. You know, they need to fix Obamacare. That's what they need to do. Because it does a lot of good things that the Republicans would love to go control of. And you know what? I don't even feel like I should call them Republicans. That does a lot of good stuff that the puppets of the corporations and the 1% don't like. Because it costs them money. It costs them more money to run their business because they have to take care of people now. And they don't like it. They want it to stop. They bad want it to stop. They don't want to help the poor people. They don't want to help the disadvantaged. They don't want to help the disabled. But it is our God-given fucking duty to look out for those fucking people that aren't as well off as the rest of us. Bring us your poor huddled masses. The poor shall inherit the meek shall inherit the earth. That's what Jesus taught us. That's what's written into our moral consciousness in this country. And it seems like we are losing it. And definitely our representatives sure as fuck are. So are they really our representatives? Who are they representing when everything they do tries to screw people over? Oh, man. Know what I mean, Vern? There's just no two ways about it. There isn't. You believe in God, you're a good Christian. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. We need to elect people that feel that same way. And I'm not saying that the federal government has to pay for every single person, but they should have some basic protections for people. You know? And I understand that we can't, the government can't pay for every single person to be successful. It's on each person to work hard, which it also talks about in the Bible. You know, Lord looks after those who look after themselves and keep to his agreements and follow his path. You know, so there is that, and I understand that, but just, oh man, we have so much fucking money that the government borrows so much money from the Federal Reserve. It's all fucking fake money. They act like it's a problem. It's an unstoppable pile of shit now. They're going to continue borrowing money from the Fed and then paying money back to the Fed to line the pockets of the uber rich. That's fine, whatever. The system works, kind of. So fuck it. You can't give some of that fake money to the fucking people that are starving to death? To the people that are limping? To the people that have long-term health problems that we've created? Alright, I'm done bitching. I'll see y'all this afternoon.